Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And this week I'm doing movies in honor of Memorial Day. And this one was also a viewer request, and it is for the 1987 film Good Morning Vietnam. Here's your trivia question for today. What movie does Adrian take Trin and her family to see at the theater? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, this film takes place in Saigon during the Vietnam War. We meet our main character, Adrian Cronauer, who is being brought in as the new DJ for the local armed forces radio. So, the expectation with Adrian being brought in is that he'll just do an average, regular radio show. But what actually happens is that Adrian decides to crank his level of radio host up to 11. He very quickly makes some new friends and some new enemies. His commanding officers immediately do not like his style, but luckily for him, the troops love it. So while spending time in his new home that he's been stationed to, Adrian begins to have a bit of a crush on one of the locals. He even ends up being the English teacher for her class just so that he can get closer to her, and in turn ends up becoming very good friends with her brother. So, with all the mounting tensions being caused by the Vietnam War, will Adrian in fact be able to keep doing his brand of comedy and radio hosting that the troops seem to really enjoy, or will his commanding officers end up winning out and getting him discharged? This movie was directed by Barry Levinson. This film was almost directed by Jeff Canoe. The real Adrian Cronauer says that the movie is about 45% accurate. Also, except for Cronauer, all other characters were fictional. He also says that the restaurant blowing up just after leaving it and the army trying to censor him were the only real events that actually happened to him personally. When Cronauer originally pitched his story, he tried to do so as a television series that would be like a combination of MASH and WKRP in Cincinnati. Robin Williams and Adrian Cronauer were not allowed to meet until production was over, as Levinson did not want Robin to do an impression of Adrian. Robin Williams 100% ad-libbed all of the broadcasts that he performed in the film. So after Cronauer left the Armed Forces Radio, one of the DJs that took over after him was actually a 22-year-old Pat Sajak. That's right, the same guy who hosts Wheel of Fortune. So even though you can see Beatles records being shown in the film, you don't hear any of their music as their songs had not been released for use in movies or other media yet. So obviously Robin Williams does an amazing job in this film, but some other actors that I feel also need some recognition are Tom T. Tran, who virtually has no other acting credits besides this film, Forrest Whitaker, and Robert Wool. This is also one of the few films to have the acting twins of Dan and Don Starton in it. The movie was entirely filmed in Thailand. There were plans for a sequel called Good Morning Chicago, where Adrian Cronauer, still played by Robin Williams, would be a reporter at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The script was written but was never made. So when it comes to the film Good Morning Vietnam, this is a fun and entertaining movie to watch. It has Robin Williams starring in it, and in my opinion, there's almost no such thing as a bad Robin Williams film, as you will always find some entertainment. So I think I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. If you did enjoy this film, other movies I recommend watching are Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Apocalypse Now, and Patch Adams. Now it's time for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. What movie does Adrian take Trin and her family to see at the theater? So they all go to watch the American classic Beach Blanket Bingo. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie that you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.